We rejoice in family coming together, in family's safe arrival. The road, like the forest, can be greedy, claiming several of those who cross its path, and so family's safe arrival must indeed be rejoiced. Sitting together in a room that always seems too small to fit all of us, yet never feels small at all, since a small house will hold 100 friends. A passage from the Bible is shared. We close our eyes to pray, and then we open page 306 of the Chasu Christian hymnal. Our attention is now on song 383, Ye Kididi Kiziha. Together in a chorus, we begin to sing. Out of the chorus burst a wonderful melody, a wonderfully disorganized melody, realized in distinct yet scattered vocal ranges, perhaps in need of a conductor to set and aid its rhythm, and perhaps even that is not necessary. Out of the chorus bursts a lineage of voices, voices of my grandparents, my mothers, my uncles, my brothers and my sisters, voices of my ancestors and ancestresses, voices of my past, voices of my future, a symphony of memory claimed and unclaimed. I have often wondered how this song became so significant and beloved within our, as well as many others, familial and communal gatherings. Historical archives capture the original and German version of the song as being comprised of 4 verses. However, the current version which we sing and which has been translated to Chasu, my mother's tongue, has been condensed to 3 verses whose lyrics very simplistically and yet repetitively attempt to capture how glorious it is for brethren to gather in the Lord. Paying attention to the song's rhythm, as well as the emotions of those who sing it, emotions which rest somewhere between joy and melancholy, I cannot help but wonder whether the significance of what is conveyed through the rhythm, the lyrics encapsulated in the 3 verses, as well as the experience of bringing it to life, perhaps exceed what meets the ear. The song, and by extension, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which introduced it, is rooted in the very problematic history of colonial occupation for most part of the African continent, the introduction of Christianity and Western education, and embedded to it a systematic denigration of indigenous ways of knowing, existing, and expressing a worldview and its manifestations. This included, amongst others, attempts to obliterate traditional forms of worship, learning, healing, creative expression, and recording history. It is within this background that my sense of wonder extends to the internalized ramification of this history on those who carried the weight of its actualization and its narrative across generations, and how these feelings are harbored deep within the soul of this song, in the emotions evoked by its rhythm, in the breath taken by those who sing it. In her account of The Wayward, Saidiya Hartman attempts to capture the power of the chorus as a tool for collaboration and improvisation that unfolds within the space of enclosure. By this, she means as a dance within an enclosure, a dance which is never ending in its attempts to seek for a different kind of story, the kind that questions and challenges the existing narratives related to the long history of struggle, the ceaseless practice of Black radicalism and refusal, and the tumult and upheaval of open rebellion. According to Hartman, the chorus, as a polyphenous entity, can propel transformation as an incubator of possibility and as an assembly sustaining dreams of the otherwise. Listening to our chorus and to Hartman's conceptualization of the chorus, I can't help but wonder what other stories are harbored deep within this song. What different stories can be told which historical accounts have not already told? And what different narratives which go against the typical grain of cower and defeat can be fleshed out of the many generations of familial and communal gatherings within the chorus of this song?
In my father's narration, when he was a child, churrito, my great-grandmother Emilia counting the time through her hair. Jueguen, niños, hasta que yo termine de peinarme, Emilia said, while she moved her black hair so long that it touched the ground. The churritos knew that when she finished branding her hair, a time lapse had closed, opened. The time, according to Emilia, time and earth, counting the time from the hair.
Two down, one up, two down. Two strands of ukindu remain on the left. Two down, one up, two down. Three strands of ukindu remain on the right. Left to right, right to left. Two down,
Sejabiri,
one
kwejaki,
up,
sejabiri.
down.
Shaja vibaje viri vya masala mkono wa kumoso. Sejabiri, kwejaki,
Shusha viwili,
sejabiri.
bakisha kimoja.
Vibaje vitatu vya
Mbili
masala
chini.
mishale vingine.
Chana mbili
Funya
za
kuume
ukindu
tonja
zinabaki
kumoso.
kulia.
Funya kumoso
Shusha
tonja
viwili, bakisha kimoja. Shusha viwili. Chana tatu za ukindu zinabaki kulia. Kushoto kwenda kulia, kulia kwenda kushoto.
Two down, one up, two down. Two strands of ukindu remain on the left. Two down, one up, two down. Three strands of ukindu remain on the right. Left to right, right to left.
Sejabiri, kwejaki, sejabiri. Shaja vibaje viri vya masala mkono wa kumoso. Sejabiri, kwejaki, sejabiri.
Bakisha kimoja.
Vibaje vitatu vya masala mishale vingine.
Chana mbili
Funya
za
kuume
ukindu
tonja
zinabaki
kumoso.
kulia.
Funya kumoso tonja
Shusha viwili, bakisha kimoja. Shusha viwili. Chana tatu za ukindu zinabaki kulia. Kushoto kwenda kulia, kulia kwenda kushoto. Two down, one up, two down. Shode bets Koko Rupa, who bets Bibi Mkunde, who bets Mama Demere, who bets me. Two down, one up, two down. Shode becomes my daughter, Orupa becomes my niece, and Mkunde becomes my sister. Two down, one up, two down. A pattern emerges meticulously weaved on a long ukili. Two down, one up, two down. A thread of history is weaved and carried across from generation to generation. We begin with a call to come together around shareable moments and situations, within specific home places and around specific rituals. Neither of us had to put forward this call. Instinctually, we have always known how to keep an ear out for it, and once heard, we have always known when and how to respond to it. This has been our quotidian ritual for maintaining bonds within the family and within communities. So here we are, 3 generations of women, and by extension, an entire matrilineage responding to the call. We gather here not to ask questions or to define an object or subject, not to mark out an area or field, not to define borders around objects and scenes and situations and archives, and not even to break borders between and across fields and disciplines. Rather, we come together to be curious, to share wonder, and to muse on possibility, and to follow on the generosity of the call. These offerings which we have collaborated to create, which also extend across different media, bring our voices together in a chorus which emerge from our conversations around autonomy, memory, and history. In some cases, our chorus charters into troubled and problematic histories, yet we refuse to center the entire conversation within the folds of these problematics. History has many times done that already. Instead, we choose to navigate the other side of the strait by exploring the different stories as well as the many possibilities offered and encountered in the rare but very special moments of family coming together. Following on Keguro Macharia's idea on the method of gathering and on gathering as a method, our offerings came to be via processes which utilize togetherness both as a methodology and a thesis. In forming the chorus and the call to come together in the chorus, much is challenged. Here, there is no subject and researcher duality. There's no border which marks where one voice ends and where another begins. And there are no attempts at hyper-theorizing, hyper-contextualizing, and/or hyper-hypothesizing. Here, there's only the process of following the generosity of the call, and in turn, an invitation for you to extend similarly generous calls. We gather together. Together, we gather.
I would like to invite you all to come and share a memory with me. The memory in the form of numbers. It can be a date, a day, a month, or a year. You can form the memory and the number with the stamps. You can stamp that on my body and whisper the memory in my ears. It can be of any language. In exchange, I would whisper one of my memories.
Symptoms: despigmentation, hyperpigmentation, symptoms in a brown body. At 16 years old, my skin began to speak to me. Depigmentation, hyperpigmentation. The other day I spoke with my father. I tell you that it rained a lot last night, and inside the house, the water ran. ¿Cómo estarán las lluvias en el norte del país? While he talked, I brushed my hair. It is not usual for this type of rains to exist, he commented. We hugged from a distance, and when I finished combing my hair, I slept and moved in my dreams to hug him. The Algarrobo, three of the dry forests from the north coast of the country, the Algarrobo that used to protect us, that used to be in my grandmother's house, has been disappearing. The plagues of larvae, the plagues of men, the plagues of omission.
I would like to invite you all once again, if you wish to share a memory with me. Memory in the form of numbers. It can be a day, a month, an year. You can whisper the memory in any language you are comfortable with. And in exchange, I would whisper one of my memories.
She is collecting soot, whoever does that. She has never been anywhere in the vicinity of a raging flame. A thought crosses my mind, but was immediately interrupted. I have to go check on the paper. It has acquired a light turn. I tried to recall all the soot-filled spaces I have really experienced. Whoever said it requires a village to raise a child did not lie. This child's work has sucked in the whole household. 3 generations hugged together, contemplating how best to collect soot in a house that uses electricity and gas for cooking. We first think of how we can use a gas stove. Pots and pans collect a fair share of soot when we cook on it compared to the electric cooker. The idea does not appeal to her. Charcoal or wood fire are what she has in mind. There is a scent of smoke she recalls from her childhood visits to our rural relatives. It lingers in your clothes weeks after you have left the village, she says. That is the kind of smoke I'm looking for. Finally, her grandmother, my mother, has an idea. Wood fire. We live in a house with a vast open space full of trees and dead wood. The 2 of them agreed to start a fire in my garage. Dead wood is collected, a raffia cord tied across the room, and 3 sheets of art paper hung on the cord, tied to it with pegs. Underneath, fire crackles. The first attempt is a disaster. To get quicker results, I suggest she adds charcoal to get enough live coal and wet grass, which emits a heavy smoke. Instructions are, however, lost in translation. Leaves and grass can be synonymous in Kiswahili. Instead of nyasi, I use the general term majani, which may translate as leaves or grass. So, when the soot is just about to acquire the consistency she is looking for, she walks into the garage on her regular checks, only to find a dying flame, no sign of paper, not a trace. Not the raffia cord from which the 3 sheets hung, nor the pegs that held the paper into the cord, all gone, reduced to ash. Second attempt. She's not the type to be easily deterred. I don't know whose genes she inherited. She wasted no time. She swiftly repeats the same routine. Another raffia cord materializes. 3 more pegs and another sheet of paper, this time round in a wheel. She coils it 3 times across the cord. Once again, she suspends it, adjusting to the fire. This time, no wet grass or green leaves are added, only wood. Dry twigs for kindle, dry wood for flame, and freshly logged wood for smoke. It works. In less than a week, the paper has collected the right amount of soot and smell to her satisfaction. It could have done with 1 more day of curing, but we all urge her not to tempt fate. She has only 5 days left before she leaves. After the first experience, even she is not too trusting.
I could not determine the length of the paper in pages or words because the paper does not have pages or decipherable words. Using the metric system, however, I was able to determine that the paper measures to about 4140 centimeters long by 53 centimeters wide in dimensions. The store from where I purchased the paper had simply listed it as art paper. Not much detail was offered. Texture-wise, it is somewhere between a canvas, wallpaper, and cotton paper. Its surface is quite smooth and deceivingly fragile, but the paper itself is quite agile and does not easily accede to wear and or tear. 3 previous drafts of writing were attempted in shorter lengths of 1380 by 53 centimeters prior to this extended and final draft. 3 sheets of paper initially hung above the fire, but the fire decided that they would never be published. This final draft was our second attempt at negotiation with the fire. Thankfully, the fire agreed. We have a paper. The writing itself is done via soot and presents itself in stains of light tan and coffee brown with ash streaks. The soot was uncontained and uncontrolled. Because of this, the writing process took a life of its own, with soot choosing and deciding where to land on the paper, forming deeper stains on some parts while barely staining other parts of the paper. Some parts miss the soot stain altogether. Instead, they remain with the marks of the raffia cord from where the paper hung, or of the scattered ashes that blew from the burning wood. The paper has footnotes in the form of scent, a scent reminiscent of that carried in one's clothes after a visit to the village. This is a lingering earthly scent with notes of wood smoke, which capture both the nature of the wood, the split of its heart, as well as the smoke of its burning. For the impressionable nose, this scent is a powerful mnemonic, signaling a retelling of past experiences of spaces that people have lived in over the generations. The sound of that scent rings truth to these experiences. My mother writes, "The soot that my daughter collects does not compare by any stretch of imagination to the soot that I am familiar with. Above and around the hearth and kitchen walls of all the homes I have lived in my childhood, there, the color of soot was a texture between tobacco, coffee, and dark chocolate. My daughter did not have the privilege of living in any of those homes. She learned to make fire for the first time when she wanted to cure her paper. Even then, community was needed to help her figure out how it is done and how to execute it. The figuring out took a life of its own, a week, perhaps more. Starting the fire was a challenge she chose not to live up to. She was happy to let community perform the ritual while she learned to perfect the art of keeping the fire burning and that of regulating the flame. Looking at my daughter's creation, collecting soot as an artistic expression, I cannot help but remember Koko Orupa's kitchen, which also doubled as our community space within her secular hut. There, we waited for the evening meal, the only time really that we would converge as a community. Koko's kitchen was the smokiest I have ever known. It is widely believed that the quality of the firewood determines how good the fire burns, and by extension, how much smoke it emits. That may be in other cases, but not in Koko Orupa's kitchen. Despite her advancing age, she maintained an obsession with the finest firewood, which we had to fetch from the fringes of the earth, literally. She would lead us like flock to the farthest spots in the wood, skirting the cliffs at the edge of our hilly village in search of the driest and finest species of firewood. Walking down the slopes was fun. We would only realize how far we had walked as we started plying the narrow path back home, heavy laden with firewood. Negotiating those steep slopes was excruciating. Thorny branches tore into my dress and prickled my tender skin, while sharp rocks sticking out from the earth cracked my toes and tore the soles of my bare feet. Like a lieutenant leading her platoon to battle, she took the lead, her 3 grandchildren on tow, a walking stick steadying her steps as she slowly walked up the hill, slowly but surely, one step after another, unfaltering. We were never raised to complain, and so we hardly did. With sweat dripping down our brows, we made our humble offering to the genies residing in Coco's Heath, hoping our heart would smoke less. But the genie was not easy to appease. He devoured the firewood like crazy, but his rage did not subside. It continued to punish us with billows of smoke, which he continued to spew from Coco Rupert's Heath. I know now what I didn't know then, that the very architecture of my grandmother's secular hut was the biggest contributor to our ordeal with smoke. It was dingy, with a tiny window that let in the breeze, which was then trapped inside. With no cross ventilation, the breeze circled in the hut in search of a way out and collecting smoke as a billow of dust collects at the eye of the storm. We thus had to brave a constantly smoky and soot-filled room, no matter how good the fire burned. The walls were soot-filled, and so was the ceiling, under which was perched a rafter right above the heath of curing meats, drying seeds, and protecting them from vermin, and keeping kindle dry at all time. The soot under the rafter, however, had a special quality. It grew into strands similar to dreadlock stubs. Coco would harvest it, soak it in water, and make you drink the water whenever you had an upset stomach, and it worked like magic. The walls against which the cooking stones were planted into the earth was equally glittering with coffee brown soot.
Seja biri, kweja kimu, seja biri. Shasha vibaje biri, vya
Shusha
masala,
viwili,
mkono wa
bakisha
kuume.
kimoja. Shusha
Seja
viwili,
biri, kweja
tatu
kimu,
za ukindu
seja
zibaki
biri.
kulia. Kushoto
Vibaje
kwenda
vitatu
kulia,
vya masala,
kulia
kisha
kwenda
levy.
kushoto kwenda kulia. Shusha
Kwinya
viwili,
kuume,
kulia
tonja
kwenda
kushoto.
kushoto.
Kwinya
Kulia
kuume,
kwenda
tonja
kushoto.
kuume.
Tena mbili za ukindu zinabaki kushoto.
2 down,
Shusha
1
viwili,
up, 2
bakisha
down.
kimoja. Mbili
2 strands of
chini.
ukindu remain
Tena
on the
tatu za
left.
ukindu zinabaki
2
kulia.
down, 1 up, 2
Kushoto
down.
kwenda
3
kulia,
strands of ukindu remain
kulia
on the
kwenda
right.
kushoto.
Left to right, right to left.
2 down, 1 up, 2 down.
2 strands of ukindu remain on the left.
2 down, 1 up, 2 down.
3 strands of ukindu remain on the right. Left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left.
Diagnosis. August 2018. Welcome to the sample collection C0209. It says the TV screen in the waiting room. False positive, error. False negative. Family health history. Every time I comb my hair, I see how the time goes by. Emilia, I find it curious how I have skin cancer, and the thread I used to protect us from the sun is gone. I feel exposed, algarrobo body. Many doctors saw me. They saw me naked. They turned me into an object. How has medicine treated us? Our diverse bodies, classificate, examine, exoticize, feminine bodies, brown bodies, southern bodies, dissident bodies, indigenous bodies, cholo bodies, our skin, our hair, our marks. Many doctors saw me, each time a new one. Don't touch my hair. Meanwhile, I keep counting the time. They extract a piece of my skin, a biopsy, a piece of my skin that allows them to read me without looking to my eyes. treatment. Abrir, romper, cortar, triturar, sazonar, sofreír, freír, hervir, hornear, atamalar, revolver, desmenuzar. Probar, degustar. Alinear, conversar. Our breath keeps the environment warm. Our hands touch what they call forbidden. Our mouth kiss the chili peppers, while you and I beat our succulent bodies. Repair the fracture that exists in time. Talk to the ancestors. Hug and eat an algarrobo in dreams. Come from the top to the bottom. Emilia, listen. I stopped cutting my hair. The medical space was always distant to me. Meanwhile, I brushed my hair.
I invite you all once again to share a memory with me. A memory in the form of numbers. It can be a day, a month, a year. You can stamp the number on my body and whisper the memory in my ears. It can be of any language, however you want to share it. In exchange, I would share one of my memories.
Togetherness begins in a car, sometimes in a bus whose capacity is often stretched to and many times beyond its limits. We sit together for hours, surviving rough roads which stretch over several kilometers, bodies moving to and against each other as the bus or car negotiates swerves, turns, bumps, and potholes that it meets along the way. Togetherness happens over conversations, sometimes over silences which fill the hours which we spend on the road. It is that space between ease and annoyance, between excitement and dreading. For there's always that one person to delay us for hours. There's always that 1 year where one would rather not go altogether. Togetherness is my sister's head resting on my shoulder as she gently closes her eyes to take a nap. It is my children's tiny bodies moving in and out of my arms nonstop. Travel always makes children restless. Togetherness is finding the perfect corner or bush from where to dig for medicine. It is taking turns to stand cover for one another so the digging can be semi-private. Togetherness are the mid-journey purchases. One must never arrive empty-handed. Togetherness is the sound of a bus honking as it approaches Maore. It is the excitement of hearing and running towards the honk if you arrived earlier. It is tightly hugging together outside the bus. It is helping with luggage, chatting and laughing while hiking up to Bibi's house. Togetherness is laughter, prayer, songs, stories, and games. Sometimes it's annoyance, tears, quarrels, and misunderstandings. It is the sound of children playing in the morning, bare feet and bare-chested, enjoying freedoms that their city life often deprives them of. It is the sound of the friendly neighbor's greeting in the morning, kopita, urewedi, both a greeting and a self-invitation to join in the circle of togetherness, both a greeting and an upholding of the moment that marks Bibi's transition from Kunde to Ko, that is, mother of. A bittersweet greeting to hear in the present, for Bibi Mkunde will always remain kopita, yet every kopita uttered is a painful reminder of the fact that Peter, her firstborn, is no longer with us. Togetherness is the sound of masenzo sizzling, or that of rice being scattered inside the ungo, or that of the up and down motion of mpingo against the kinu. It is the sound of a very crowded kiete, the sound of bargain during purchase, for every price can and must be bargained down. Togetherness are the customary visits to various houses in the village, for it takes a village to raise a child, and even as a grown-up, the child must never neglect the community that nurtured them. It is the discomfort of your overfed body, for every elder you visit will most likely feed you, and refusing to eat is just unpolite. It is the sadness of having to visit less and less houses as the years pass, for whenever an elder dies, a library burns down. Togetherness are Bibi Mkunde and Babuke. It is the countless visits to the hospital which we have maintained over the years as a way of managing the ailments that come with their old age. It is taking turns to look after them. It is our fingers running through their skin to massage their aging and aching muscles. It is our fingers running through their skin to massage their aging and aching muscles as a way of keeping them comfortable. It is everyone playing a role, however small, in reciprocating decades of their various labors of love. It is the silent prayers that we get to keep them, for they are the glue that keeps us together.
I invite you all for the last time to share a memory with me. A memory in the form of numbers. It can be a day, a month, a year, You can stamp that number on my body and whisper the memory in my ear. It can be in any language, it can be however you want it to share with me. And in exchange, I would share one of my memories.
Flowering. Cuerpo algodón, maíz, coca, payar, algarroba. Our territory has changed. The rains will be stronger and longer, and we will lose a few more algarrobos. Meanwhile, Emilia will be eternal. She will make us dance, while we see how her hair barely touches the sun on the ground. And some of them will fall, marking the time. The algarrobo are being displaced. A surface is changing. My skin has changed. And Emilia and I will continue dancing, spinning and braiding our hair, Emilia and time. A time lapse had closed, opened.